What is going on, everybody? Good afternoon. How's everybody doing on a Sunday afternoon? Right, weekend's almost over. It doesn't quite feel like Sunday. I think mostly because yesterday kind of felt like Sunday a little bit. Maybe because Friday felt like Saturday. It's just one of those weekends, right? A little bit nicer weather, getting the dogs out. Everybody's kind of getting back into the swing of things. But we are here today at United versus Everybody to have a little bit of a difficult conversation. And that's part of life, right? You got to have hard conversations, and it's definitely part of life as a United fan. But as United fans, it has been a frustrating few months. It's been a frustrating season. Really, honestly, it's been a frustrating decade, if we're all being completely honest with each other. Um, but in the last few months specifically, we've watched Ruben Amorim struggle to implement his tactics to kind of wrest control over the results a little bit, to try to struggle to put together a string of results, really, in a number of different ways. Struggle to implement his tactics, implement his system, implement his vision with the squad he has, with the limited training, PSR, whatever you want to call it. We've watched Ruben Amorim struggle. Now, there are a number of possible explanations for that and reasons, some of which are completely out of his control, stuff he walked into when he arrived, just like every other manager. But then there's a question I think to be explored and discussed today, and that is this. Is the job too big for Ruben Amorim? Is he in over his head? Is he out of his depth as United manager? Before we dive in, I need to preface this. This is not me saying I'm Amorim out. This is not me saying, get him out of here, get him out of the club, he's garbage. I've seen that on social media. I've seen people say get him out. There are people who are saying get him out over Rashford. There are people who are saying get him out over Anthony. There are people saying get him out over Sancho. It's ridiculous. I'm not doing that. As always, this is me trying to get your thoughts on the topic that I was just kind of literally woke up this morning, thought about this, and put together this whole thing because I really wanted to hear what you guys had to say. I don't think Ruben Amorim is a bad manager at all. Same as Ten Hag. Ten Hag is not a bad manager, but it is a big jump to go from Sporting, or in Ten Hag's case, Ajax, to Manchester United. It's a big jump, no matter who you are. The question is, was it too big a jump? Is the job itself a poison chalice right now? Does Amorim deserve more time? Would any other manager do a better job right now with what we have long term? We're going to discuss all of this today. And I'm very, very eager to hear your opinions. So like the video, subscribe to the channel if you are new. We are on the road to 3K. Hit that membership to check out little ways you guys can get involved. Maybe you guys could suggest topics like this one that I'll do a show on. We'll have a discussion about it as well. And then there's even options for you guys able to join virtually if that's something you ever want to do. So let me see who's jumping in. My boy, Danny in the house. How are you? Good to see you, man. Hope you're enjoying your weekend. How are things over in Beantown? 70% of the players are out of their depth. This is true as well. We're going to throw that in there as well because that is a factor. Danny said maybe 80%. I'm going to have to check your math there, Danny. I want to know where you're getting this data from. Agile says, in a word, no. I asked a lot of questions. You'll have to let me know. But welcome back, Agile. It's good to see you. So let's get stuck in. Ruben Amorim's United tenure has been rocky, to put it lightly, right? Yes, we're undefeated in Europe, and he played a big part in that, coming in and beating everybody, basically. He managed big results against Man City in the Derby. Remember, we did that fun little sing-song after that. Liverpool, you could say it was a draw against this Liverpool side, considering where both clubs are at. Big result. And then obviously knocking Arsenal out of the FA Cup was a big deal. But aside from all that, 10 wins, 9 losses, and 3 draws in all comps is not necessarily a good look. And that includes a run of 4 losses in a row earlier, a couple months ago, 3 of which we failed to completely find the back of the net at all, while also conceding 7 goals in those 3 matches. It's hard, right? Needless to say, something's off. Something's been lost in translation when it comes to Amorim's system and the players picking it up. Why is that? Is it a lack of training, lack of preseason, a lack of time to really instill what he's trying to do? We know it's more than just don't pass it long, pass it on the ground. It's all, he's trying to get players to change the way they're thinking about the game and seeing the game, which is not easy. Are the players just not good enough? Maybe they lack footballing IQ, technical ability, mentality, physicality, fitness, whatever that is. Maybe they overpaid. um, or is it a case of a manager who was successful in a lower league being out of his depth, like we said? There's plenty of precedent in that regard, not only United, but in football. Graham Potter made the jump from Brighton to Chelsea, and it never looked like he was really comfortable with that kind of platform. Lopetegui, when he was appointed to Real Madrid, struggled. He totally screwed my 2018 World Cup bracket when he decided to leave Spain, like literally before the World Cup started. Unai Emery, some people would say Unai Emery at Arsenal was a bit out of his depth. Pochettino, PSG, another example. Maybe Ten Hag, again, Ten Hag jumping from Ajax to United. Was that too big of a jump at the time? It's interesting. Let me see what you guys are doing here. Agile says, is Ruben Amorim in over his head at Manchester United? I would say no. Well, I want to know why. We're going to explore that today. I'm not saying you're wrong. I don't think it's a question of right and wrong. It's what do you think? Teresa says, hi, Sean. Hi, Danny. I agree with you. Ruben is in awe of how professional players don't get their thumb out of their butt. It is funny how they can't seem to do that. Danny said, Potter was poo, never won anything. Well, Potter did earn himself the Chelsea job, and he was linked to United for a minute. Obviously, now he's at West Ham. They got themselves a nice little result the other day. But it's interesting. This is why we're here. I'm here to put out some of these questions and get your guys' responses. So don't hold back. Let me know what you think as we go along here, because like managers, like players, managers want to challenge themselves on a bigger stage. But whether it's their abilities as a manager in general, or maybe just the wrong club at the wrong time, it doesn't always go according to plan. We've seen that with players as well. This doesn't mean that they're bad managers. Sometimes it's timing, sometimes it's just there's a lot of different kind of factors involved. But while tactics and results got the job done at smaller clubs, maybe those clubs who are also better run as well, with less pressure, smaller egos, arguably lower expectations, those are not all guaranteed to translate to a bigger club, those kind of tactics and those kind of results. And even if these managers are successful, there's more evidence to suggest that it is a rocky start, that it isn't an overnight success, unless you go to a club that's just loaded with money and already stacked with talent, Pep Guardiola. But there's more evidence to suggest that it's going to be a rocky start. Jurgen Klopp, Mikel Arteta, even Sir Alex, they weren't immediately successful. What they represented, though, was someone that was going to really take the reins of a long-term project that was going to keep the ship steady, keep everybody rowing in the same direction while the club built and while there were some rock. You need a steady leader during those turbulent, kind of rough starting times, and that's what these managers were meant to be. And the results did not come overnight, if you guys remember. It took Klopp 4 years to do anything at Liverpool. Arteta hasn't really done much since he won the FA Cup with Unai Emery's players, aside from finishing second. And then we can't forget, the Tara Fergie times either. They were rough for a lot of these managers. But under Liverpool's recruitment plan, Klopp did end up winning a league and a Champions League. Arteta went from eighth, fifth to mounting a title challenge and pretty much making Arsenal a given in terms of the title conversation these days. And then we all know what Fergie ended up doing. I mean, this is academic at this point. Hell, even Pep didn't win a single trophy in his first season at City. That was like the first time in his career. Like, it's not an overnight thing. It's not a guaranteed. Let me see what you guys are saying. Agile says the players aren't good enough. Bruno has his moments, and so does Martinez. I can't see too many quality players behind that. Yeah, we know there's a lot of dross in this club. There's a lot of bluffers that need to be shown the door. We're working on it. That's part of the process under Amorim. If you guys remember what some of the Sporting fans have been telling us, it's a big part of it is clearing out some of these high earners, some of these, I don't want to call them toxic personalities, but just like the bigger kind of volatile personalities, if that makes sense. Box, welcome back. Box says, at the moment, would any manager not be in over their head at United? That's a question we're exploring today, but we're getting started on the conversation. Thanks for stopping by, man. Great to see you again. Rob, good evening. How are you doing? Danny says, too much horrible recruitment and decisions have killed us, just like how we sold Garner for peanuts to fund Casemiro. We got 6 months out of Casemiro. And now look at Gardner. He dominated the midfield. Yeah, he definitely. I mean, Garner probably had an axe to grind a little bit, a point to prove, and you know you're going to get that when we play our former players. I mean, Mr. Danny Welbeck loves a goal against us, doesn't he? So it's just one of those things, man. Jay says, "Welcome, Jay. It was not too much of a jump for Ten Hag. We've had no plan, no structure, no identity for 11 and a half years now. We've gone from manager to manager with different systems and a different style of play. Yeah, and we're going to get into that because, again, this isn't me saying definitively yes or no. This is, again, there's not a right and wrong. This is me posing the question and giving context to the conversation to kind of help you guys give me some opinions here. But it's interesting. Like I said, Pep didn't win a single trophy in his first season at City. Now, I'm sure some of you were like, well, Sean, what about Arne Slot? Look what he's doing at Liverpool. They literally just beat City. They just destroyed City. Like Jurgen Klopp, Arne Slot was a data-driven appointment at Liverpool. He was just the next link in the chain that they've been building for the last 8-9 seasons. Klopp was part of that chain as well. It wasn't a let's appoint Klopp and buy his players. It was, this is how we want to play. This is the identity and the culture we want at Liverpool. Klopp is part of that. It's not only whatever Klopp wants. Klopp famously did not want Mo Salah. He wanted Julian Brandt. Like, Klopp had to roll along with it. Arne Slot walked into a Liverpool side that's literally 9 years into its rebuild. It was already stacked with Champions League winners, Premier League winners, these top players. Now, I'm not saying Slot isn't doing a good job, but I'd argue that, again, any similar manager would probably have gotten similar results because of the way Liverpool recruit. And again, who this year, City were the only ones who usually challenge Liverpool. If you look at the last 7 seasons, it's just been all City and then one time Liverpool. Like, City's implosion this season is kind of helping matters as well. They've kind of given Liverpool free reign to this title. Liverpool are walking it this year. It's just the way it is. Teresa says at Sporting, the crap was just as bad as United. The fans even attacked the players, one of them tearing up their contracts. Yeah, it's a little insane, right? The way things went. I remember that. That was crazy. Danny says, Rob, you almost had us the weekend. Oh, no. Agile says, in 2023, about Mount, Liverpool bought McAllister and Szoboszlai. Yeah, McAllister, I like McAllister. He's a good player. I wish we would have gotten him instead of Mason Mount, but it is what it is. You make your bed, right? Bach said, what was the issue at full time, by the way, with Garnacho and the Everton players? I heard Bruno had an incident with an ex-Everton player at halftime as well. There was no incident. It was actually one of the ex-Everton players. I forget the guy's name was. He made a joke about elbowing somebody, and Bruno joked back. There was no incident. The media is gonna put that in the headline, and then when you go and read the article, there wasn't really much to it. Everybody was a little frustrated at full time because I'm sure the Everton players were still butthurt because they didn't get that pen, but I don't really care about that. Yeah, but there was no incident. It was just a joke. Danny says, Slot just had to walk in, hang up his jacket. Everything was in place. He didn't even need to make a transfer signing. They still play the same tactics, Danny. It's literally still just long ball. The guy sat here and complained about teams like United who played long balls when Liverpool have literally done that under Klopp for 9 years. Slot's still doing it. I don't know what, they literally sat back in a back six for the last second half of that match today. It was embarrassing. Which I don't care. It's not embarrassing that they did it. It's embarrassing that he called it out in 1 week and then another week he's doing it. He's such a hypocrite. And nobody can tell me that Arne Slot doesn't sound like Goldmember from Austin Powers, by the way. You guys, once you hear it, you'll never unhear it when you start listening to him talk. Bach says, Arsenal of 22-23 and 23-24 would have won this league this season. Arsenal have fallen off the season even before the attacking injury crisis. Yeah, Arsenal they had their chance. I think that Arsenal they peaked when they made that challenge for the title for the league, and then I think that's it. I think that they can't do it anymore. I think that they missed their chance. They really what caused them to miss their chance. Box was not buying a striker, was getting Havertz, getting Jesus instead of getting someone like Osimhen or Vlahovic or somebody like that. If they would have done that, I think it would have gone a lot differently because they had all the other pieces there. They needed that striker and they didn't get that striker, and it just is what it is. And it's a Slot just a little more conservative and patient. Well, that's the Dutch in them, right? And that's why, yeah. While you guys are having a fun little conversation. Slot looks like that famous darts player. I have no idea who that is. You have to let me know. I don't watch darts. I never knew darts was a big thing until I got a little older. I think my dad played it a lot when I was younger, and we had a little dartboard in our basement, but I didn't know it was so big. That guy Luke Littler, he was at the Brighton match. When they did that presentation and everything, that I was at that match, so we got to see that. We got to see him go out there with like Fergie and whatnot. It was pretty cool. But getting back to early manager growing pains, because growing pains is not just a great TV show, y'all. Show me that smile again. Y'all remember that? I just aged myself like crazy there, didn't I? But it's interesting. Danny says huge back home, the darts. Interesting. I feel like it's the only tension I see from darts is not like how they're going to do it. It's just who's going to miss that triple 20 or something. It's just because all I see when they throw is just 20, 20, 20. And like you're just waiting for someone to just miss one by a little bit. And then you're like, oh, wada. But I don't know what that noise was I just made. Anyway, getting back to the growing pains. What earns new managers time, even when there are some struggles, is the ability to convey and implement a clear idea of what you're trying to do. People were patient with Klopp because they saw his plan. With Arteta, it's been 5 years of trust the process. I still don't think he's going to do anything. I think Arsenal fans are starting to already murmur. But again, this is the mantra that we've heard from Arsenal fans over, the last 5 years. But, again, you have to show the fans, and really you have to show your owners, your board, something. You have to show something to convince them that you're heading in the right direction, to convince them of the vision. You have to show them that their support is warranted. So my question then is, have we seen that from Ruben Amorim? In your own personal, because everyone's going to have different, like remember we went through the video a long time ago, what makes a good manager? There's a lot of different criteria: man management, crisis management, trophies, tactics, vibes, exciting football, whatever you want to call it. Everyone's going to have their own little hierarchy there. So, but in your list of that hierarchical list of managerial criteria, has Amorim ticked boxes that count? Has he ticked enough boxes early on to convince you that the patience is warranted? Have you seen something on the pitch that tells you, okay, I see what we're doing there? Has he gotten enough from this squad, in your opinion? Could he be getting more? Have his decisions, his pressers, et cetera, have it shown you enough to say, yeah, we'll give him some time? United must have thought so, right? They convinced him to come mid-season. They're still here. But again, is being successful in that lower league or managing a smaller team enough? When he was appointed Amorim, there were a lot of parallels to Erik ten Hag. Again, they both come from lower leagues. They both took teams that are bigger teams, but teams that weren't doing anything for a few years. And after an initial kind of bedding in, got them back to the top of the table. Ten Hag turned Ajax into a powerhouse again, both domestically and the Champions League. People are so quick to say, well, Ten Hag, Ajax always win. They don't. Not until he got there. They hadn't done anything for several years. And forget about Champions League. He got them to their first Champions League semifinal in like 20 years, Ten Hag. Same with Amorim, who not only got Sporting back to the top of the Portuguese league, but he also orchestrated big results in Europe, like that victory over Man City in the Champions League just before he came to United. Even at Sporting, though, as you guys are saying, it wasn't immediate success. It wasn't overnight. Like Arteta, Amorim cleared the dressing room of powerful and, like I said, even volatile egos. And then you've got Sporting's recruitment and their academy that were a big help as well. They're just like Ten Hag had at Ajax. This process really enabled Sporting to help to reclaim that spot and hold on to it. And remember, too, that Amorim was approached by Liverpool. He was approached by City as well. They wanted him as well. Liverpool reportedly passed because they thought it would take too much money and too much time to completely rebuild under Amorim's system. It was a very different system to what they were used to, which we're seeing as well. So it does make some sense. But these other big clubs were looking at him as well. So it's not as if he's a bad manager, right? But what does this mean? Does this mean that Amorim maybe needs to adjust his tactics to a counter-attacking system that suits the players? If that's the case, though, like, why appoint him in the first place? Why go a complete 180 direction in terms of philosophy and formation if we're just going to demand that he starts playing that way? If he just switches to a back four, if he just starts counterattacking? I agree that these players look better on the counterattack, but is it on the manager to lower things to their level, or is it on these players to challenge themselves to play to a higher level? It's interesting. Let me see what you guys are saying here. Danny says snooker massive too. Is that the same as pool, or is that different rules? Because pool to me, I play like 8 ball and I played 9 ball. What's the one with the little bumpers on the table, the smaller table? Is that I don't know. You have to explain that to me. Teresa says Amorim's issue at the moment is that he needs these players' game to be able to sell them well in the summer rather than send them out on loan. I mean, that's a question though, Teresa. Is it the manager's job to try to preserve transfer value for players? His job is to win matches, right? His job is to manage. It's not his job to get max value. That's our whole recruitment team's job. That's the player's agent's job to try to get these deals. It shouldn't be on the manager's job to try to squeeze players in here and there just so they can get minutes, so they can get a little higher value. Let them go on loan like Anthony and Rashford and Balassi are doing if they want to get their value up. It's the manager's job to decide if he can work with these players on. If he can't, then he's got to convey that to someone higher up and say, these players aren't in my plans. Like, do what you got to do. Agile B says, YouTube, I can't speak. Any you will see what Box is getting. Teresa, improve the game. Sorry, finger problem. No, it's all good. Agile says, my Arteta is max cringe. Yeah, Guyliner's he bugs me, but it is what it is. Composed View, welcome back. It's difficult to answer. There are a few variables to consider. My patience for Amorim isn't solely based on his ability, but based on the ineptitude of these players under a system suited for them. Yeah. And again, that's why we're having the discussion today, right? What's going on? Is he in over his head? Is there more to it? Because we've seen this club swallow up managers, even like managers with longer CVs and more impressive CVs than Amorim, than Ten Hag. So is it the thing? We've seen it with players. We've seen players come from lower leagues who just cannot handle the pressure of United. We look at Xerxes, his first several months he's here. The guy looked just completely overwhelmed. Onana sometimes looks overwhelmed. Guys like Anthony, Sancho, these guys look like they get here and they just can't hang. Whether that's the pressure, the scrutiny, just the weight of the shirt. You guys tell me. Danny says, absolutely not. Erik Ten Hag done that after 2 games. Yeah, changing the counterattacking, totally different from Poole. Yeah, it's interesting stuff. Teresa says the left wing back, right wing back in the system are aggressive attackers and difference. Yeah, they need to have some stamina, they need to have some energy. They need to be able to get up and down the pitch for 90 minutes. His system does ask a lot of the players, whether it's those wing backs, like you're saying, Teresa, even the midfield pivot. You're going to have to do a lot. His system, I see a lot of similarities to the way Klopp played and the way like Pep plays sometimes, in that it asks a lot of you. It asks stamina, energy, work rate on and off the ball. You have to do that kind of stuff. And we don't have players who were able to do that under any other manager. I don't know how they're going to do that now, where it asks even more of them. But again, look at what happened with Klopp over time. Yes, there were struggles early on, and yes, that was the way he was trying to get his team to play, and there were a lot of struggles, but look at them now. Liverpool are all over the place. Look at what like Newcastle are doing and stuff. Like, these players are all over the place. Every single team in this league looks more fit and more energy, more physical than we do, and that's taken time. But again, look at what happened with Liverpool, what those players look like now, and that could be where we could get with some better recruitment and some patience and some time. Box says Anthony got another assist today, but also straight. Yeah, we are. We'll do a thing tomorrow. We'll do some new stuff tomorrow. But I did see that. Teresa says Onana is on permanent chill time. I'm done with him for real. Composer, you said Slot was a decent coach at Feyenoord. See how so decent it took Ten Hag leaving the Eredivisie for him to do anything. Just saying. However, he has good players at Liverpool. Pep was a nobody before his stint at Barca. Arteta was an assistant without experience. Yeah, exactly. You're preaching to the choir, man. Danny says, Jashar CM at Bruges quality. All right, Sean. Excellent passer and ball. Oh, did you see? Yeah, you saw we were having a little back and forth. Yeah, I posted a little post earlier about Arden Jashari at Club Brugge. Keep an eye out, because on my next video, you guys are going to learn a little bit more about this kid, because he is an absolute baller. But yeah, he was good, man. Rob says, only had a proper left wing back till recently. Also waiting for Mason Mount to announce his arrival. Yeah, it's been so long since I've seen the number 7 on a shirt. Like, it's very, very frustrating, Rob. Like, can we just take it back? Can we just give it to someone else? G Wolf, welcome, my friend. Good to see you. How are you? These players are lazy under different managers. They can't do the simplistic of things. Amorim has got a major job on his hand. And that's what we're talking about. You pose that question, and we're getting there too, is the job too big? And that doesn't just mean the pressure. It means the actual work that needs to be done. Is that too big for Amorim? Is that too big for any manager? Is it just too much to ask without another season or so of proper structure being laid down? They're hard questions. Like I said from the start, this is going to be a difficult conversation. There's probably not a right, wrong, good or bad. It's just how you guys feel. And that's what I'm interested in knowing is when I put the question out there, what are your guys' thoughts? How do you feel? Because some of you are going to think he's in over his head. Some of you are going to think, no, he's fine. It's just the players, or he needs some time. Like he's came in midseason. All of them are valid, but I like to know where everyone's at. But again, if people are already demanding Amorim change his system, change his tactics, play more counterattack, play four at the back, like whatever, again, why even appoint him in the first place if that's where things are going to go? I saw someone online, I forget where it was, they put this statement out, and I was like, that's a really interesting point. I'm going to put that out on the channel and see what you guys think. So here's the question. Are tactics as important at Manchester United as playing, attacking, exciting football like we saw under Ollie, for instance, like we saw under Prime Fergie, like you see right now at Real Madrid under Carlo, or like when Zidane was there? Is the tactical side of things at a club like at United the same? You saw it at Liverpool too. Klopp didn't have tactics at Liverpool. Let's have it right, but what he did worked, and it was exciting, and it got them results. As simple as it might have been, this simple like hook it long and find Salah on the run. Again, I'd argue that Ancelotti barely has tactics at Madrid. He simply plays the best players in their best positions, because at Madrid, that's what you can do. You have the best players. So Don, again, at United, do we simply need to embrace what people are calling the DNA of the fast-paced attacking football, the wing play that made us so successful under Fergie, or do we need a tactical mastermind? Is a tactical mastermind how we kind of usher United into a new era, the modern era? Are we clinging too much to the attacking, exciting football or not? Or do we need a little bit of that, sprinkled in to these tactics now and then? What do you guys got going on here? Box says, I think the job is too big for anyone. It's an interesting point, right? It's an interesting thing to think about. G Wolf says, but it's down to the players. We got the right manager, but the players are shit. We do have a lot of shit in the squad. I'm not going to lie. Doesn't mean I don't think Amorim can do a little more. We did that video a couple weeks ago, G Wolf, 5 steps to save the season. Some of it were very easy, simple things that Amorim could tweak here and there. They don't require any sort of major abandoning your principles. Robbie Savage isn't going to come out and give him one. Just simple things, up the tempo, play the players in their better positions. Maybe at times consider packing the midfield with maybe a 3-5-2 like he has played in the past at other clubs, like little things like that. But big up at G Wolf. Good to see you, my friend. Teresa says, knowing how he operated at Sporting, he may be very close to benching some players. He's been extremely patient. He doesn't look patient on the pitch, on the touchline. The dude is in a permanent squat. I wonder sometimes if you ever caught Amorim just walking around Manchester downtown or something, he'd be literally doing like a crab walk squat. I don't know if I've ever seen him not in a squat since he's been here. The guy's, and if you notice, like he's getting that Doctor Strange kind of gray going on the side of his head now. That didn't take long. I'm not trying to make fun of him. I'm just pointing out an observation. He's got that Doctor Strange gray streak going on right now. We saw Ollie go from like gray to like white. We saw David Moyes get really old overnight. Like it looked crazy. It was like Dorian Gray out here. Composed view. The coach at Brighton was okay in Germany, but he's good. Look at Andoni at Bournemouth, Emery at Arsenal. Didn't have the support of the fans and board, so he flopped. Experienced coach with trophies. Yeah, I like Andoni, but again, like Bach said, would even Andoni come in and do a better job? Would he be able to get more out of these players? Again, is the fact that we're asking that question, again, it kind of underlies this notion that maybe there's more to it than just the managers, right? Rasta says we got lucky yesterday. We did get a little lucky. I thought that, again, had we showed up and played the first half like we played in the second half, I think we probably would have gotten something from that match. But we just took us 45 minutes it took Bruno's goal for us to wake up and remember that we were in a match, unfortunately. Again, we just kind of left it too late, which is really unfortunate. But welcome back, Rasta. Good to see you. Rob says, we can't expect success when Onana is in goal. McGuire is playing regular. We need better. Strikers aren't firing. Now replacing players in jam. This manager has a hell of a job in his hands. He does have a hell of a job. He really does. Lionhearts, welcome back, Lionhearts. You're only as strong as your weakest link, and he's got lots of them. Yeah, there's a lot of weak links in this squad. It's like it's like rope. When you're tying a knot in like rope, the knot is actually the weakest point of that area. The knot is where it's going to break if there's too much tension. That's just how it is. So the knot may look strong, but at the same time, it is also the weakest part of that. It's very interesting. Rasta says, I still consider it a loss. We need 38 points and better. Yeah. And we posed that question yesterday. Do these players think that we're safe from relegation? So maybe they took their foot off the gas a little bit. But there is more to being United manager than tactics and what happens on the pitch, I guess. The unparalleled pressure cooker / fishbowl combination that you exist in as United manager does add a layer of stress and unrelenting scrutiny and criticism that you just don't get at any other club. You just don't. It's just a simple fact. Pep has like the same issues going on right now, but no one's talking about it. No one cares. They got knocked out of Champions League second year in a row, even though I'm sure they'll find a way to not call the loss against Real Madrid. And he's out here just getting away scot-free. Like, it's ridiculous. At United, every decision, every result, every word in a press conference, every syllable in a press conference is analyzed, criticized, twisted out of context for a week, even after a win. Ten Hag got more shit immediately after winning the FA Cup than Pep did for crashing out of the Champions League as holders of Champions League. This is what you deal with at United. That's partly what plays into this. Is it too big? Because there's that whole factor that we have to also consider, because that's something that no other manager will deal with before they get to United. It's not something they're not going to deal with when they leave United. This is what you only get at United. And we've seen with players too. So whether it's players or the managers, that constant and ever increasing weight of all that is sometimes too much to bear. Sometimes you do buckle under that, and that's just what it is. Composer says, in my opinion, any fan asking Amorim to change his system should grow a spine. We cower due to the pressure from the media, our peers, banter, etc. If you must build, do it right. Fix the foundation. Yeah, building it's short work. Anyone who's ever done any construction, anyone who's ever, the process of tearing everything down is not quick. The process of planning the new build is not quick. The process of starting the new build is not quick. And like you said, the foundations are the place to start. And the foundations don't have to be complicated. I've said it in the context of a match. If you're messing up, if you're making mistakes, if you're getting a little in your own head, stop, play a couple simple passes, get a couple good touches in, build that foundation in the match, give you something strong to build on, and just build a rhythm, build some confidence, move forward. That's all it takes sometimes. Same with this. We had no structure, so there was literally nothing but a blank canvas there. All we had to do was just decide how we wanted to do anything moving forward, and then we can make a foundation. Rasta says, no, we are not 35 and better. Interesting. Perhaps the problem at United is deeper and bigger than the manager, like we're talking about. Maybe after nearly 2 decades of poor decisions and a complete lack of any semblance of a structure, like we were just talking about, or like a plan under the Glazer ownership, what if the rotten, implosive state of this club right now is just too much for anybody to succeed? It feels like it's a powder keg, and any second, like everyone's getting angrier and angrier, more and more impatient. It feels like it's all about to come to a head. But what if it's just impossible? What if this is like trying to plant a garden in the desert right now? It's just nothing's going to happen. Managers with more experience and better CVs have also been shown the door. Louis van Gaal, Jose Mourinho, and Sir Jim himself even said in an earlier interview a couple months ago that it's not a managerial issue. The environment of the club has made it impossible for managers to succeed over the last decade. The fact that we're on like our 7th manager in just over a decade says a lot. Again, this is what has happened over the last decade. can any manager hope to turn things around until the club as a whole starts to turn things around? If that makes sense. Who has the stature? Who has the proven ability? Who has the raw ability to get results? Who can also handle the pressure, handle the magnitude of this project and their role in it? Because yes, the manager's not in charge of the structure and the finances and the stadium, but they still have a major role in the rebuild in terms of delivering that vision, that identity, that culture, and conveying that to the players. What are we saying here? Bach says, yeah, it feels like that. It feels like a lot of things, my guy. Compose me. What I know is Amorim has till next season before I start looking at him critically. And that also depends on the transfers we make. Have we forgotten when we cried about having a structure under Ten Hag? Yeah, there's nothing about Ten Hag that I cried about. I like Ten Hag at Ajax. I was really happy when we signed him. He did kind of give up on himself a little bit too early, I thought. But again, I think that within that regard, I think that had more to do with him quickly realizing just the shit show that he took over and really the limitations that were put on him by the current state, by what he walked into. I think that he was like, ah, shit, this and this would help, but I'm not getting this and this, so I need to figure something out, because at this club you have to get results. This club is not like Liverpool. We're not going to let you go 4 years without something to show for it at United. It's just not the way it works. We're not going to do an eighth, fifth, nothing like Arteta did. That doesn't work. You can't. And we can struggle. But I also, on the other hand, don't want us to do like a Chelsea where we sack people every couple of years and try to ride a new manager bounce and scrape a trophy every year. So because that's what we've been doing. I think we're all tired of it. I think we all want to see something, and we're at that place now where we're like, we want to see something more than just a single manager or a big signing come in and make a statement. And that gives to my next question. What role do we as fans play in this whole process? Are we expecting too much too soon from managers? They're not miracle workers. they're like Ten Hag said, he's not Harry Potter. He can't wave a magic wand. And again, the manager turnaround tells you that there is a deeper issue going on. If you sack a manager mid-season, like we've done many times, it usually means things aren't going well. And that's the situation that a new manager has to walk into. Again, do we need to be more patient? Is roughly 4 months any time at all for a manager to get settled, especially without a preseason, especially without a whole lot of signings, especially without a whole lot of time to train until recently? I mean, this is why Amorim initially wanted to wait until the summer, right? But he was given an ultimatum by United, and it was now or never. And it sounds like he wanted the job, and so he just knew what he was walking into. The club probably gave him a little bit of patience and assurances, but he still probably wasn't expecting it to be this bad. The guy looks like every time we're in a situation in a match, he just looks like he's like in his mind, he's like, what the hell did I do? What did I do? And again, as fans, we have to understand that change does not necessarily automatically mean improvement, at least not immediately, right? I've seen some viral social media posts from sporting fans, like I've mentioned before, who've shared, their love for Amorim, the importance of removing subpar players on big wages, and the need to back him through early struggles. But they all say the same thing. All these posts I've seen from these sporting fans: it'll take time, but it will get better. That's literally the refrain I've seen from every single sporting fan, from any of these posts that's gone viral. Is it's going to take time, but it will get better. We saw that at Sporting as well. We'll see what happens at United, right? Compose View says, and to add to what you're saying and asking, who has the spine to stand firm on his beliefs? Ten Hag cowered, so we want another manager to cower. Giving an inch is the beginning of failure in this situation, in my opinion. Yeah, and that's Amorim's opinion too. He said from the get-go, I'm not going to change, because if I change, it's failure already. Like, he's got to stick it out. I hear him. Usman, welcome, my friend. Good to see you. How are you doing? Interesting. Amorim, on that note, though, Amorim could probably do a little more to help himself. Again, like we spoke about a couple of weeks ago, tweaking things just a little here and there in terms of selection, tempo, and just how he sets the team up. Sometimes I think he can improve on in some ways. And it's not necessarily I want him to react. It's just I want him to learn. I want him to try stuff in a match, in terms of, these players in his positions that he's been doing, and ask himself, did that work or not? What worked? What didn't? Do I need to change this and that? Like, I need to see that you're able to learn as you're going along here. I'm not saying that you're here to like have an internship, but you have to be able to be a little bit humble, a little bit self-reflective, and willing to make the necessary changes. Now, it doesn't mean abandon principles. It just means, all right, Dorgo better on the left than on the right. Let's keep Dorgo on the left. That's just what we need to do. Do you think some of his comments in these pressers have been too harsh? Calling this United side the worst in the club's history, calling out the lack of fitness, and then most recently saying, no, we didn't exist in the first half against Everton. That's his exact words. We didn't exist. We were soft. Is this tough love? Is this okay, do you think, from a manager? Because we all kind of went in on Jose for throwing players under the bus. A lot of people went in on Ten Hag for some of his comments on Jadon Sancho, which I didn't think were bad personally. Is this tough love? Is this a manager kind of lashing out under stress, under pressure? Again, these are things we all think, right? We all talk about to ourselves, but should the manager hold himself to a different standard when it comes to what's said in pressers versus what's kept in the dressing room? Maybe is that playing a part in this? Teresa says, fans are fickle, rude, and want a major miracle overnight. Aren't fans supposed to support the team? They're supposed to. And I do think we are impatient. I think at United, though, people will say like United fans are entitled. I don't think it's that we're entitled. I think we're just tired of a decade of this, and we're at a point where we're like, all right, something's got to change. Like, we've reached the end. This has been boiling over since Fergie left, and I think it's just a timing thing. We're at a place now where we're like, we got to see something. You see it from Arsenal fans right now. It was trust the process, trust the process, trust the process. They were all gassing up Arteta, and now you're finally starting to hear Arsenal fans kind of, they're not gassed up anymore. They are starting to murmur a little bit. They are demanding a little bit more. And this is what you have to do. You have to there's a fine line between being critical and holding your club to a standard, but also like just lashing out and backing them and being knee jerk about everything. There's a fine line there. Danny says, no, it needed to be said. Erik Ten Hag didn't have the balls to do it. I don't think Erik Ten Hag had the best communication skills, which is ironic because so many journalists and stuff who have spent time with him have said he's actually very funny. He's actually a very sarcastic guy. Maybe, again, you put him in front of the cameras and you put him in those kind of uncomfortable, not kind of one-on-one situations. And I feel for him. I would not like to do press conferences. I don't like giving presentations. Like, I hated it in school. I would rather write a 50-page paper than give a 3-minute presentation. It's just uncomfortable. Maybe that's just not where Ten Hag shines. I don't know, but yeah, and it maybe just Erik Ten Hag's personality. Maybe he just wasn't as outspoken, and maybe he wasn't as well-spoken in some of those areas. I don't know. Again, it just depends on what you think is more important as a manager. Teresa said he wants high intensity. The player's not coming to the party. No, I agree. The system demands a level of physicality, a level of energy and stamina, intensity, work rate that we haven't seen from a lot of these players. Some of them do, but one player, 1 or 2 players can't carry that load for everybody. And this is why you're starting to see some of these players kind of throw a fit and want to leave because they don't want to do it. They think that their talent is enough and they shouldn't have to lower themselves, deign to put in the grit, put in the hard yards. They don't want to get the dirt on their uniform. They want to do what they want to do because they think that's why they're there. I'm here to score goals. I'm here to beat a man one-on-one. I'm not here to track back. I'm not here to put in a challenge. I'm not here. That's bullshit. That's complete bullshit. In this system, those kind of personalities are what's going to stick out, and those kind of personalities are what's going to get pruned if you back this manager. We saw it at Sporting, and we haven't really been able to see that a whole lot. Mourinho got sacked instead of some of the personalities getting let go. Ten Hag, the Sancho thing never died. The Cristiano Ronaldo thing never died. It's just hard. Box says tough love and a reality check. Maybe, yeah, and maybe these players needed to hear that. Maybe these players need to be told. But again, the question is that something that needs to be said out in presser or something that needs to be said behind closed doors? Rever, welcome back, man. Good to see you. Sup, good evening, afternoon. Yeah, it's afternoon here, man. Rever said these players can't run. I mean, I feel for it a little bit. I'm just tongue in cheek because when I played indoor the other day for the first time in a while, like it was that It was that bust in the gut to get forward to attack, lose the ball, and then have to bust the gut to get back. That's what does it for you when you're 39. You haven't played in a little bit of time because it's been cold and stuff. That's what kills you early on. My legs were jelly for a bit, and then hurt my foot again early on. Rever says if they don't want to run, Amorim should drop them. Yeah, if they don't want to run, if this is the bare minimum that we're asking for is just run, and you can't do that as a professional footballer, bye. Sorry, you're done. Teresa says, and it's time for them to tear their contracts and move on if they don't want to party. I mean, it's time for them to find a move elsewhere. Now, we've gotten rid of some of them. Sancho, Rashford. Anthony bless him, he does try, but he's just not good enough. Malacia, I don't think was ever going to be what we needed. It's just not his fault. Just because you're not good enough for this doesn't mean you're not good. It's just the way it is. There's levels to this. So getting back to the main point, let's say for 1 second, for argument's sake, that let's say just hypothetically, right, devil's advocate, let's say Amorim is over his head. Let's pose that out there. He's a young manager. It's a big step up in his career, right? It would make sense to think, okay, maybe he's a little out of his depth. Let's say all that's true. Does that mean that he can't improve? Does that mean that he can't grow? Does it mean that he can't learn? Does it mean that he can't get better? Like young players, we talk all the time, these young players, develop them. You can, like we did it with Ronaldo. Can we not do that with managers too? Or is that totally different? It was a big step for Sir Alex. Yes, he did a lot in the Scottish League. But again, and you can say the Scottish League at that time was big, but it's a big step to United, because even when Sir Alex came in, United already had a history. They already had that prestige, that status. It was a big ask. And before you all clip me up for comparing Ruben Amorim to Fergie, just stop. But still, the question remains, let's say Amorim is over his head. Does that mean that he can't get better? Pressure makes diamonds, right? Pressure and time. The pressure is here. This is Manchester United. The question is, will we give him time? Would you give players time? Are we going to go in Dorgu if he doesn't deliver, like people are already going on Rasmus Højlund? Are we willing to give them time? You like how I snuck that little bit in there about Højlund, didn't you? And again, whether you're a player or a manager, if you can endure, if you can rise to the challenge, if you can find something within yourself to get to that next level, to meet that challenge, then you can be tempered by that process and come out the stronger for it. Imagine what that could yield if we give time, if we allow these players and these managers a little time to develop, to learn, like, God forgive, to make a mistake. That's going to happen. That's part of life. Like I said, the person who invented whiteout, made millions of dollars because of mistakes that people make. It's just part of life. It's one of the most common things you're going to have with everybody else on the earth. But if we could give them some patience, give them some time, yes, you can be critical. Yes, you can demand more, but that doesn't mean you just automatically have to write them off. Like Bruno came from Sporting, big step up, hit the ground running. Cristiano came from Sporting, take some time to develop. We turned Cristiano into an absolute star player, a class player. Who's to say that Amorim can't do the same? Rever says, it's only been a few months. I still have faith in the manager. I'll give him until December, yeah. And that's kind of bring me to this point too here. So I guess what it really comes down to is whether or not you think Amorim can do better or should be doing better under these circumstances. Have you seen enough to tell you that maybe with another transfer window, maybe with some backing, maybe with a preseason, some more training, have I seen enough now? And maybe with a couple of these players getting cleared out and replaced, have I seen enough to think, maybe even from his time at Sporting, have I seen enough to think that, yeah, he can do it? He came into an unfit, low footballing IQ, poor mentality squad that's completely unfit for his system, like you guys are saying. He had PSR restrictions to work with that meant that he just got one 20-year-old Dorgu in January, and then Aiden Heaven, who again is playing with the Rezzies right now. He had an ultimatum to join mid-season with no time to train and no preseason, like I said. This is what he walked into. And again, the question is, if Amorim or any other manager is a bit out of his depth, does that automatically mean they don't get time? Is it just like, nope, you're out of your depth, you're gone? We need top class. We need an Ancelotti to walk in right now and get the job done. Is that where we're at right now? Is that what we want? Is that realistic given the context of what we're trying to do right now with this rebuild? We have to completely rebuild, and right now that's going to mean we're signing some we might see a little bit of like what Brighton and Forest and whatnot do in the transfer market for a little bit, where we're going to sign these young players. We're going to sign some lesser known players, some less expensive players, and we're going to build for a couple of years. And then we can start getting the cherry on top players later on. That might be where we're at. And you don't get an Ancelotti for that. Ancelotti's not here for that. He couldn't do it at Everton. I'm not saying he's a bad manager, but Ancelotti has earned the place at the Real Madrid. He's going to manage the egos in that dressing room and get the best out of those players. There's no right or wrong answer. Like I said, I don't think it's a right and wrong. It's not that simple. Life is not that simple. The question is, what are your thoughts? You have to decide for yourself how you want to interpret what Amorim does, or maybe more importantly, what he doesn't do. And just like I said with Ten Hag, Amorim is going to help or hurt his chances with every decision he makes. It's almost to a point where we don't have to be in or out or anything. The manager is going to do what the manager is going to do, and then that's what it is. I'd give Amorim until next summer for sure, but I do need him to do a little bit more. Like I said, I've already done that video. I'm willing to give him time, like I said, because that's just how I roll with managers in general. I'll do that with players too. But he also has to show me that he can learn from his decisions, that he can learn, from what he sees on the pitch. But again, I'm more concerned about what you think. So let me jump in the live chat and see what we got here. Let me scroll back up here. Teresa, in my opinion, summer signings, I don't want to be a party pooper. Expect unknown names, youngsters who fit the profile he needs to succeed. I mean, it almost sounds like, Teresa, you're suggesting some actual scouting and some actual recruitment, which I've been screaming for years. I'm tired of the shirt sellers. I'm tired of the Galacticos. I'm tired of the obvious names. I'm tired of chasing big names like Sancho and De Jong and stuff. Like, let's go out and do some actual scouting. Like, we have scouts. Let's either use them or get rid of them if we're not going to use them. We're moving towards a data-driven approach too. We've not really done that at all. It's just been like, who does a manager want? Who's the big name? Like, even under Fergie. Again, Fergie was a different time. The data wasn't really that available back then, but still, we're trying to move into a modern era for the very first time. We've not really had a sporting director for years. We've not had a sports psychologist ever. There are so many things that other clubs are way ahead of us in that we're so far behind in, because we were just banking on the United name. We were banking on a single player or a single manager rather than actually doing what we needed to be doing. And that's part of the problem. But yeah, I have no problem with lesser known players. I love it. If we would have signed someone like a Mats Pfeiffer or whatever, that would have been awesome. Danny B says, I still have faith, even in Rasmus too. He needs help. I give him till January. Yeah, Rasmus needs some help for sure. Rob says, yeah, didn't Ancelotti manage Everton? He did, and then he jumped ship as soon as Madrid came calling again. Like Odegaard will do, too, if Madrid decide to come calling. Odegaard will wave goodbye to Arsenal on his way to the airport. Danny says, he needs 2 good windows, summer and January, clear out all the shit. No, absolutely. No, Rob says, I might have dreamt. No, he definitely managed Everton for a minute. That's how James Rodriguez got to Everton, which I don't even know where James Rodriguez is now, but he was at Everton, I know that much. Teresa says, Diego Leon, bet he can't wait for him to arrive. Yeah, I like what I'm seeing from Diego Leon. Obviously, he played a big part in Paraguay's under-20s qualifying for the under-20 World Cup with that big win in the final match. It wasn't the final. They didn't win the tournament, but it was their final match. So they did finish in like the top 5 or something. But he played a big role, and he scored the winner in that match. So Dorgu, Diego Leon, we probably do need another right wing back. There are plenty of players out there who could do that job, but I think that really we need to be looking for work rate and stamina and speed. Lionheart says, I think this is the best we can expect. This team has overachieved the last 2 years. It's been going this way for a while now. Yeah, we might have punched above our weight. We might have overachieved under Ten Hag, which people might have said, like, he's an overachiever. Yeah, but we still achieved it. I'm not going to slag the guy for winning the first trophy available to him at the club, and then also getting to 3 finals and winning 2 of them. Well, we probably did overachieve a little bit. We probably are a little bit of a cup team in these last couple of years, and we've scraped by because of it. And perhaps that's a part of it too, Lionheart. It's an interesting point. Maybe, again, under the old regime until Ineos got here, scraping by with top 4, scraping by with a couple pieces of silverware now and then was enough, because maybe the owners thought that that's enough, for the fans. So maybe we do need to demand more. I'm not going to not celebrate winning the FA Cup. That was an amazing match, especially that quarterfinal against Liverpool. Probably my favorite match in a long, long time. I wish I could have been there for that. At Old Trafford, are you kidding me? I wish I had a time machine. I would give up so much to go back and watch that match and be there for that. But maybe that's the thing. Maybe, again, it's just that mentality that's trickled down from the top four, or you're done. We've seen players give up when top four is out of the question. We've seen managers get sacked when top four is out of the question. But then a couple of trophies gets it for you. It's interesting, for sure. There's a lot that's wrong, and that's part of why this club is imploding. That's part of why it's so toxic and rotten. Rob says Amorim's got to be backed in the summer, otherwise it's been a complete waste. He has to. And that doesn't just mean, as we saw at Sporting, like we talked about before, it doesn't just mean buying players. It means clearing out some players, addition by subtraction. And people are so quick to and it's not even just buying. There's a difference between buying and building, if that makes sense. You can buy players, but there's a difference between that and building a squad. And that's what we need to start doing. We need to build a squad that works. We need to use that money wisely. Like Kieran Maguire said the other week, talking to United View, we need to spend smarter, not bigger. We need to be better at building instead of just buying. We can't just buy our way out of everything. Rever said, there's rumors we might be in for Pogba. What do you think about that? I hope not. He won't even be match fit. We're going to talk about that a little bit tomorrow. So I wanted to make sure I did this video kind of isolated in itself, and then I'll do a news show tomorrow on some of the other rumors. So I'm not trying to dismiss you or anything. I wanted to make sure I compartmentalize some of these, if that makes sense. Trying to split the news videos from the match previews and the match reactions and some of these kind of unique videos, because otherwise we'll be here forever and the conversation is going to go all over the place. And I'm not blaming you. I have to do it for myself because I'll get distracted and I'll go off on tangents and stuff and nothing will get discussed. But I do hear you. It's on the docket. Don't worry. We'll do that tomorrow. Teresa says, he knows exactly who he wants by now. I hope so. But again, the manager can't just have the only say. It's got to go through that process. It's got to be collaborative effort, because that's exactly what got us into trouble in the past as well. Buck says, I would like a summer of good scouted buys. Nippon, Rig, Hackney, Cherky, etc. Yeah, you can add Arden Jashari to the list, by the way, if you guys saw my post from earlier. That dude, I posted on Twitter too. I posted, it was Hackney and Jashari next to each other, and I said, I have a dream. Just make it a reality. Get these two. Those two would boss our midfield for a decade. Lionheart says, if United don't win the Europa League to get into the Champions League, can we really expect a good summer transfer window? We have to. Whether or not what we're doing in the summer should not be dependent on whether or not we make it to Champions League. That Amorim shouldn't suffer because of that, and I don't think that's fair. If you spend your money wisely, if you do your due diligence now, you can make something happen. Plus, if we miss out on Champions League, these players are going to get a pay cut. We are going to lose some of that Adidas money, though, but it shouldn't matter. Personally, our business should be done. We should be looking at what we're doing. We should be having a plan by now. We shouldn't have to wait until the Europa League final if we get there to figure out, okay, now we can do this and that, because that's ridiculous if that's what we're doing. Reverend says, at least there is some kind of sporting structure now. Woodward era was an utter failure. There's a bit of a sporting structure, hopefully. I'm still waiting to see it in full swing under this manager with this plan, but it's the other decisions that worry me. Right now. Teresa doesn't think Pogba's happening. Interesting. Rever says, I think this summer there'll be a big striker signing, then the rest will be bargain youngster buys. And again, we're going to talk a little bit about that, because we're going to do obviously a transfer target video a little later on, but it will depend on priorities. And maybe I'll ask for you guys' help in maybe deciding the priorities, because if you're saying prioritize striker, then that also means maybe less money for these other positions. But if you're prioritizing like two midfielders or something and like a defender, then you get a little more creative. You can get Jonathan David on a cheap. He'll be free this summer, and maybe that gives you more wiggle room in other areas. You can get Bashali for free in defense. Gives you more wiggle room in other areas. There's lots of options out there. Angel Gomez, Jonathan David, Bashali, those all three will be free agents in the summer. And then you could really go hard in the paint for like another midfielder, maybe a wingback, and maybe a 10, and you can get all that done for like 100 million. I swear I should be the sporting director at United. I would get so much done. Whoever says depending on outgoings, yeah, and that doesn't even count outgoings, right? Casemiro, Eriksson, Lindelof, these guys should all be gone, and that's going to save a lot of money. Big up, Captain Caspian. Good to see you again. Is that Prince Caspian I see in there? I can't tell. From Narnia. Danny says, how much would Friendrip or Jashar cost, you think? Now, Jashar was linked, I want to say, with Benfica and Wolves, actually. And we'll talk a little bit more about him tomorrow, too. But I don't think he would cost more than like 20, 25 million tops. I think De Ketelaere, when he left Club Brugge, was like 30, 35 million. But he plays in a position that's De Ketelaere, that's at that time he was a striker. He wasn't like a 10 like he is now. And again, strikers, attackers are historically more overpriced than other positions on the pitch. For the longest time, defenders were way underpriced. It wasn't until we started seeing like the Van Dijks and whatnot that people started to realize that defenders are actually worth a lot. He'd probably cost you like 20, 25 million, I imagine, but we could probably make it worth their while by offering a little youngster or something in exchange. Rob says, come on, guys, Sean, we can't multitask. That's for women. Yeah, I'm not good at that. I do. You guys ever watch MASH? You know, there's a character named Major Winchester, and in his mantra, man, I do one thing at a time. I do it really well, and then I move on. And that's just it. That's all I need to do. It's not about not being able to handle it. I want to make sure I do this thing well, and then I go on to do the next thing well. It's just fine. I can't, I have to full ass one thing at a time. I can't half ass two things. Rever says, seeing a majority of teams in the league play better football and scoring more goals than us is depressing, man. It is. I think the most frustrating thing for me with watching these other teams, though, is how much fitter they look than us. Literally every team we play is fitter than us. More energy, more physical. It's so annoying. Our squad is just shit when it comes to fitness. It's just the way it is. Multiple managers, the last 3 or 4 managers we've had have said it, and it's so annoying. Like, you're getting paid this much money. Like, you can't even be bothered to bust a gut. You can't be bothered to put in a challenge. I would kill for a Daniel James right now on the right wing back, because this dude's going to get up and down, and he might not be the best defender and he might not be the best crosser, but he will put in a shift and he will harangue the opposition fullback or the opposition winger. We saw him do it on the wing at United. I'm not saying that I want a team of them. I'm not saying he's the best player in the world, but what he did, and I've always said Daniel James would be a good wing back, just with what he does. Rob says, should Man United be looking at more at some championship players rather than bottom 4 Premier League players? I mean, both. I think you could do both. Just because you're in a relegation side doesn't mean you're a bad player. I think you can do both. Andy Robertson got relegated with Hull. I don't think he's as world-class as Liverpool fans like to say, but I wanted him when he was at Hull. I thought he was that good. Not saying that means everything, my opinion, but I think that both, there's nothing wrong with it. Go get Hackney. Go look at, Dibbling. Go look at, whoever. We did a video a while back on relegation players and stuff. I've done a couple videos on championship players as well. There's plenty of them out there. Captain Caspian says, one of the best fan channels out there. Keep up the great work. Well, I appreciate it, my friend. It's your guys' channel. You guys keep the conversation going. You guys make it what it is. You guys help the UVE community grow. I'm just here to throw out the hard questions and sometimes the ridiculous questions. Like today, is Ruben Amorim in over his head? It wasn't something that I'm sitting here thinking, yes, he is. No, he isn't. It's just, like I said, literally 5 o'clock in the morning. I was like, put together the slides, put together all this, and it was like, let's see what you guys think. But you guys are what make the channel what it is. This is your channel. But I appreciate that. Thank you, man. I appreciate that. Rever says, what do you think of Obi's cameo? I thought he had some good touches. I thought he showed fight. Obviously still had some sloppy touches too, like anybody does. So, I mean, it wasn't, for me, it was fine. I mean, I liked what I saw, but I don't think that there was anything that was like, yes, he's the one. He is him. He should be starting. I'm not there. The guy played for 25 minutes. So let's just slow down a little bit, and we're already impatient with Højlund, who literally just turned 22. We're not going to be patient with a 17-year. There are already United fans who were calling out Manu early in the season. Like now we overhyped him. How about we just be patient with the young players, especially whether that's Højlund or whether that's Obi, whether that's Garnacho, Ahmad, whoever. Let's all just chill. Robert says, I agree. Keep up the great work. You know what? I'm going to take that compliment. I'm going to say thank you. And normally I'm not really good at accepting those kind of remarks, but I'm going to take that because it does mean a lot. I appreciate that. I appreciate you guys always showing up, always getting involved. That really just makes it so I'm just not talking to myself for an hour. So Vox says El Canus, Fernandes, Dibbling, Delap, Davis. Yeah, I love. You guys know I love me some Leaf Davis. I love Mateus Fernandes at Southampton as well. There's some good players out there. I did that video last month. Go check it out if you want. I did like 2 or 3 players from each of these relegation sides: Leicester, Ipswich, and Southampton that I would take at United. So go check that one out. And yeah, and like Rever says, it's tough times right now, but we'll be up there again. We just have to stick to something at some point. We can't just keep panicking. We can't just keep reacting to things. We have to stick to something. It's going to be hard. It is what it is, but we have to stick to something at some point. Keep the faith, says Rever. Yeah, keep that red flag flying high. Liner says, I don't think it's down to United not being fit. Mentally, they look shot, and that obviously affects you if you want to make that run. Yeah, mentally, it's a lot of things. I do think fitness plays a role. I do think, like I've said many times on the channel, mentality plays a big role, whether it's the leadership, the initiative, the selflessness, the lack of resilience. I think it all plays a role. I think that the fitness definitely doesn't help. I mean, we don't look fit. We're getting outrun, outworked, outpaced by, outmuscled by every side we play. And whether that's mental, whether that's fit, I couldn't point a finger on it. Maybe it's a combination of it all, but it's plain as day for everybody to see when we play. We're getting done by everybody, man. Teresa says Ruben is going to make sure Obi isn't going to be railed over. Fans today are claiming the kid's going to save the day and he must start. Yeah, we should not be starting Obi at any point in time. The only time I would have maybe said like, yeah, throw all of them in to start would have been had we already qualified for Europa League and there was like a dead rubber on the last day. But I don't think it's going to happen. Maybe if it's 2 legs right against, so let's say hypothetically we get like 5-0 the first leg, then we can play some kids. But it's frustrating. I know we go back and forth on that kind of stuff. Captain Caspian says, I think the biggest obstacle we're facing is not actually on the pitch. It's a toxic environment off the pitch. Look at the Lonies, for instance. I mean, the Lonies have reached their level, and maybe, in Anthony's case, I think it's a case of that Real Betis is his level and we've seen Sancho kind of shrink. I mean, Sancho hasn't done anything in 13 games, no goals or anything. So, and then Rashford, I think Rashford just needed to get away from United. I'm not blaming United. I'm saying I think he's just tired of the attention. He was tired of not getting to play the way he wants to play. And then he goes to Aston Villa. He plays where he wants to play. He gets to play attacking football and he's happy. And that's fine. It just is nobody's fault. I don't think he should have done the interview. So people are very quick to forget that he did the interview, by the way. It wasn't like people are literally trying to say Ruben should be sacked just for the Rashford thing. And I'm like, Rashford said he wanted a new challenge. What do you want a manager to do? A manager can't be undermined like that. That's not the way it works. Leonard says, like yesterday, the Everton players looked like they were enjoying playing against United, and United looked like they were dreading playing against Everton. I think we're all dreading playing against Everton a little bit. I did call the 2-2, and I don't like that I was right, but I knew obviously we're shit right now. Everton are riding a high with new manager Vincent Moyes. Their last time playing United at Goodison Park, of course they're going to be up for it. But what are you going to do? Teresa says agreed. Who wants to perform for toxic fans who sing crappy songs? Oh no. Bog says United fan base can be very embarrassing at times. I think, yeah, any fan base can. Arsenal fans are the worst. Liverpool fans are just, I don't know why they're so gassed up all the time. I don't get that. Chelsea fans, yeah, City fan. I've only met like 2 in my life, so they don't have enough of a fan base to really make a difference. But United fans, I think, it's just interesting because there are so many United fans there are young fans who are teenagers who probably weren't even mentally cognizant to be aware of when we were actually good. They've only grown up in an era where City have dominated, and that makes me sad because they're missing out. They need to go jump on MUTV or something and watch a lot of old footage. But it is hard to be a United fan. It is hard to sometimes tolerate other United fans. You have to filter out a lot of it, especially on social media. 9 times out of 10, the stuff I run across on social media, I don't. It's all just a lot of it's parody. A lot of it isn't even United accounts. I saw one guy the other day blame Fergie for a lot of stuff, and then I checked the dude's profile, and he's a Newcastle supporter, and I'm like, What do you mean us, man? You're a Newcastle supporter. And the guy's like, no, I support both clubs. And I'm like, of course you do. Of course you support both clubs. Stuff like that. I'm just like, this is why I don't really buy into a lot of the stuff you see on social media. It's just sometimes some of it's interesting and there is some stuff in there, but it's like 1 in 10, 100 posts is like, Rever says, Anthony had his chances at United, 2.5 years, time to move on. Good luck to him. Hopefully we can recoup a bit of that 80 million. Yeah, and that's what I did. I gave Anthony time because I remember watching him at Ajax. As you guys know, I watched a lot of Ajax when Ten Hag was there, and Anthony was a world beater at Ajax. I just don't think. I think the step up was too big. I think it was the same as Memphis. He reminded me a lot of what happened with Memphis. You know, Memphis was doing great things at PSV. And maybe with Memphis, it was a little bit more of the wrong manager. I don't think it was, he had like managers that let him really express himself, but it's just, it is what it is. Sometimes the Premier League, sometimes it's United, sometimes it's the manager, the wrong manager, the wrong time. I don't know, but Anthony's found his level. I think he's doing fine at Real Betis. If they want to make that move permanent, I don't have a problem with it. We're probably only going to get 30, 35 million, but maybe if he scores if he bags a bunch of goals, maybe we'll keep going, but he probably will miss the next match, right? Because he got that red. But yeah, he supported both clubs, man. It's so weird. I don't usually get involved with stuff on Twitter, but I'm like, nah, I can't have someone out here trying to blame Fergie for stuff that's going on now. Like Rever says, yeah, a lot of Twitter accounts are embarrassing. They are. It's embarrassing stuff, but that is going to do it for me on this one. Like I said, something that was just rolling around in my mind this morning, wanted to get you guys' thoughts on. So let me know what you think. Is Amorim a little bit over his head? Is he a little bit out of his depth coming from Sporting to United? Was that too big of a jump for him? Does he look like he can manage his way through this? Are you guys going to give him time? Do you think he deserves it? Have you seen enough from him to say he deserves some time? Like I said, I'd probably give him until next summer for sure to see how he does with a couple of windows and a little bit more time. Is the United post, is it a poison chalice? Is there just too much shit going on at this club, and there's been too much shit going on at this club for too long that any manager really doesn't have a chance right now? We've seen big managers come and go, so maybe there's more to it than that. There's not a right or wrong. There's not one place to point the finger and lay the blame. It's just a lot going on, and it's a knot within a knot within a knot that's got to get untangled. So we might never have a real definitive answer, but it's still a question worth exploring, in my opinion. So Leinhardt says, Memphis did great things at United as well. Unfortunately, it was all the pitch comments. Yeah. But I do thank you guys for joining me. Good conversations. I love hearing you guys' thoughts. So hit that like button for me. Please subscribe to the channel if you are new. Check the membership. Share the video if you want as well. We'll be back tomorrow to talk about the latest and greatest United news, including Pogba and whatnot, and maybe a little bit of injury news as well. So be sure to come back tomorrow and get involved in that as well as we do the United News Roundup. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. It is Sunday, so go spend time with the family, get outside. The sun is shining here, so it's a nice change of pace. But Rob, thank you, my friend. It's nice to know that you guys are at least interested in what I'm saying, right? Cheers, Danny. Appreciate it, pal. Good to see you again. Captain says, I think we should give him a few transfer windows and then give him the verdict. Yeah, we'll see. I want to see something, right? So I don't think we're going to be able to see that for another couple of windows. So we'll judge him then. But it was definitely a question worth asking because we've seen the job swallow up managers before. So till then, you guys, take it easy. Enjoy your day. And I will see you guys tomorrow. Later.